Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Whenever you're watching this, welcome to Takeover TV, Takeover AU. Tonight we're going Takeover Gets Real. Now, in recent times, if you've been a fan of this program, Takeover Gets Real, one of the panel have been discussing reality TV, but tonight we're sort of just going to go everywhere as far as television is concerned. We've got reality TV, factual TV, cable TV, pretty much anything that appears on a screen is right for the chat tonight. And also, we're going to be slightly self-indulgent and discuss our sort of history in television. Now, I've never been on a reality TV show, and as you'll see by my face on the screen, until somebody comes up with, Farmer wants a werewolf, that's probably not likely to change. Now, the other two blokes who are with me tonight, you'll see from them that they have the good looks and the talent to burn that goes with it. They have been on countless TV shows, hosting, acting, performing, you name it. And, of course, I'm talking about, firstly, coming live to you, I think, from the Google head office in New York City, it's James Kerley.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, it's pretty exciting to obviously work for Google, but even more exciting to be chatting with you gentlemen here this evening. Just tweaking all your SEOs as we speak.
And you're at the Google head office there in Manhattan. As you can see from mine, I'm sitting back in my little apartment in Brooklyn. We can just about wave to each other out the window. And, of course, the third member of the panel tonight, you'll know his name, you'll know his face. You probably know him up close if you've ever played footy in A-grade amateurs. The great man himself is Shura Taft.
Sergio, lovely to be here. And, James, nice to see you. All your mates have rocked up behind you for a little look-see just to make sure you're going well. I can't see what's going on there.
Oh, mate, they've all gone home. It's about 2 a.m. here in New York, so obviously
right.
Just really wanted to be on this show with you guys. But
you have been known as a hard worker the whole time I've known you. There's nothing like burning the candle at both ends for you, young Kerley.
Oh, mate, absolutely. And I know you've always been a bargain hunter, Shura. So good to see you got 2 for 1. You got 2 for 1 on those owls online. That artwork.
Mate, I know a guy. If you want some owl artwork, I know a guy. I'm all on top of it all.
My only question is 2 enough? I think
never.
Everybody loves owls.
Mm.
Now, you guys, take us through. I mean, I Googled you both today, and you've got an astounding length of credits, both of you, as far as TV is concerned. Inform our viewers sort of your background, both of you. You first, girls.
Well, mate, I'm trying to think when me and Shu first met, but I sort of kicked things off in kids TV probably about 15 years ago,
right.
Working for Nickelodeon. So we started with a daily show, which was a lot of fun, called Savo. So it was about 5 years of dealing with kids, and it was a good fun network at the time. I think Foxtel was obviously in a very different state of play than it is today. And there was an absolute freedom there, I guess. Nickelodeon as a brand was quite sort of free thinking, not too many restrictions. Had a lot of fun. Like, we sort of found that happy middle ground between our age group, I was sort of early 20s, and the 5 to 12-year-olds that were watching. So lots of pranks, lots of silliness, lots of slime. But yeah, after 5 years, you get to a point where you've had so much slime that you're probably going to get fired unless you resign and move to the brother company, Channel V, which was next door at the time. So
but 5 years of doing sort of afternoon stuff and working with kids, that's pretty good grounding, pretty good education as far as being a TV presenter, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I think we do 2 or 3 live shows a week, and then the rest pre-recorded. But you get the basics. You get lots and lots of on-camera time, and obviously live time, and sort of understanding how to keep talking and keep things going. So yeah, it was a great grounding, great bedstone to sort of springboard off, and then from there Channel V. So yeah, obviously some of the 12-year-olds that sort of started, I guess. When I started Nickelodeon, sort of moved into Channel V, so I sort of grew with the audience there, which was fun. Did a reality show, or a trivia show, I should say, called Cash Cab, which is an interesting format from the UK that we sort of discovered, and it was fairly dry. I think it was the second territory in the world that we did in Australia. But a cab driver had those Bunnings light tubes, about $9.99. That had them just around the back of the cab. And a few sound effects, maybe a honky horn himself. But, so we sort of, added a few layers to that and had a lot of fun for a few years doing that, which is fantastic. And sad to see Channel V shut down. The music channel shut this year after a pretty crazy couple of decades of free-thinking TV they put out there. It was a sad day indeed.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I love about that, Kerls? I love about that is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it probably still to this day, certainly when I've been around you, Cash Cab's one of the biggest shows for people to recognise you from, of all the things you've done.
Yeah, but bizarrely so. And whether it's at a music festival or, out at a pub or at a late night kebab shop where we discovered one one night in Melbourne, the general gag, and everyone thinks they're the first person to come up with it, is, "Hey, Kerley, where's your cab?" Yeah.
Yep. Now, we'll get to further down your career path, James. Taken Out, I want to have a chat to you about. Now, was that your sort of first foray into sort of network TV where it's bigger budgets, bigger shows, and, of course, bigger pressure to succeed as well?
Yeah, definitely. And that was a similar sort of thing. It was a French creation, that show. And looking back, and at the time I sort of said to Channel 10, I was like, it does feel a little green, a little untested. It went on to have some great runs in Europe and China as well. A slight permutation of the format. There's a couple of things that need a little longer to iron out than commercial TV would probably allow. One, I think we did 20 something episodes went to air, but certainly had a few more left in the bank, that's for sure.
Now, what about you, Shu? What's your TV career?
Well, you know what's funny? You should ask that, Serge, because it's actually incredibly similar to Kerley's. We're on a very, very similar path. I started in radio at Nova, doing like driving around the street team for a year or so, and that was like a great grounding, learning the media world a little bit. But my first job was on Kids WB at Channel 9 in 2006, and I went along to a general audition at Channel 9. This is back in the day when television networks actually put out a call going, "We're looking for talent. Yeah. Do you want to be talent?" It doesn't happen anymore. All you have to do is go on a reality show these days and bang your way to fame. But back then, you could actually have a bit of talent and go to an audition. So here I am auditioning for. I did both, may as well. But I don't know if you guys remember, there was a couple of. For a while there, it was in vogue to have the late night Quizmania quiz type shows. So there was Hot Dogs Up Late, there was Quizmania, there was Channel 7 had one as well. So I went along to the audition. It was for Quizmania, and in the second callback, I think they said, "Actually, can you read this script? It's for a kids show." And that was my moment of like, "Oh, please let this happen." And I went, did the audition, got the phone call a few days later from the casting director saying, "You're going to be too old for this show," I was 23 at the time. Amazing to think that they wouldn't have gone for a 23-year-old. So there goes my dreams of kids shows, go back to, maybe going to Quizmania. And then a week later, another phone call saying, "Actually, can you come back in for another audition?" Which, as Curls will attest, and maybe you can too, Serge, was my first kind of foray into learning that this industry can change in a moment. You can get told you've got a job and it gets ripped away from you, and you can get told you don't have a job and it's yours the next day. So that was my first sort of understanding of how fickle this game is. And so, I was in Kids WB at Channel 9 at a time when Kerry Packer had only recently passed away and passed the mantle to James Packer, and Channel 9 still had that feeling of being the home of television in Australia. We had, Daryl Summers was there and the Footy Show guys and Hey Hate Saturday came back for a little run. There was a lot of that feeling. You were filming inside the old piano factory there in Richmond. So for me, for 5 years, making cartoons, which was, something that I watched as a kid, What's Up Doc and whatever else. It was pretty awesome to be part of. So like Curls, did 5 years of that. Also did a kid show called Pyramid, which, again, like Curls, was a format from America. The longest running game show ever in America is Pyramid, but it's actually an adult show they adapted for kids here in Australia. And so did almost 600 episodes of that over 4.5 years. And, again, I sort of felt like that was enough for me for kids, and it was time to move into the adult world. And so, moved my way through a few things, including a show called Up Late, which I did with Curls and a girl called Nat Garonzi. We had a lot of fun there, didn't we, Curls? We got some pretty good. We had Gillian Anderson on at one point from the X-Files, and we had
some cracking guests. Just watching the socials, I think there's on Facebook, a few people saying, "Bring it back, bring it." Oh, there's a few comments about Up Late just blowing up on the social media there. Yeah, it's
to Kerley, Angela Taft.
So you guys both went from
actually, it's my text. It's my mum texting.
From kids TV straight to sort of late night. I mean, that's a big jump, but at least you actually got there. I mean, you talked about people sleeping their way to the top. Now we spent I spent a lot of my time at Channel 9 back in the day, where people used to sleep their way to the middle for most of it. But I used to do.
To work smart, you got to sleep hard. You got to
Sale of the Century, and you're quite right about walking around. I actually had been there for a number of years, and I still used to sometimes almost pinch myself walking through the piano factory at Channel 9 and thinking, "Wow, this really is the legendary Channel 9." And you'd see actual TV stars wandering around. You'd see there's Tony Barber from Sale of the Century, and maybe Eddie Maguire, and if you were really lucky, you could you'd avoid eye contact with Daryl Summers. And
I heard a rumor about Tony Barber. This could be just TV gossip, but there was a rumor that he used to love big dinners. He used to go to town on a bit of basket press, a bit of Grange if he could. You'd order up big, and then just give them his business card and say if there needs to be a payment, have a chat to the production or the channel. Was that?
That I haven't heard that specific story, but it wouldn't surprise me. Put it that way.
Vicious rumor.
Tony,
you know what?
He's a terrific guy.
Maybe it was Shura Taft. It was some sort of game show host. It could have been. I could be mixing up, which
Well, I remember when Tony.
Shura's done that a lot. I know.
Tony moved house from a nice house in Malvern in Melbourne down to Red Hill down in the Mornington Peninsula. And he got a couple of us to give him a hand to pack the removal van. And I've never seen so many unused fridges and dishwashers in his garage that he just got from sponsors over the years. Often, they'd get a whole bunch of new prizes for Sale of the Century, and they go, Tony'd just have a quick word to the prize coordinator and say, geez, I need a new dishwasher, and you can just send one around to this joint. So it's always the way in TV. Know what it's like. The ones that can afford to buy the most
that's right.
Nothing. And I mean,
you know what?
Showbiz.
You know what was great? You would have heard this too, sir, and talk about Curls coming in with a little rumour there. I tell you what, when you walk down the hallways of Channel 9, Curls, you got told a lot of stories. In fact, on the kids show, all the cameramen, all the floor managers and directors and everything, everyone had worked on everything, right? So everyone knew all the secrets. And I'm this young buck working this kid show. Next thing you know, I'm being shown the place where Graham Kennedy did this and that.
Yeah.
Here's the table that Don Lane used to, do whatever on, and there was a lot of your eyes are open like dinner plates. Like, tell me more.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's joke business, so everything's exaggerated to who knows how much.
Well, I remember there was a great rumour out of Channel 10 years ago at one of the Christmas parties. The CEO was actually caught on tape. Hell of a shock for everyone to think that there'd be lots of cameras in a TV station, but he was caught on tape at the Christmas party enjoying the wares of one of the young production assistants back in the props bay. And at Channel 10 at the time, this particular footage was rumoured to have more viewers than Jamie's Kitchen, which was struggling at 7 o'clock in the Channel 10 thing. And there are a million of those stories in TV stations, and you're dead right, Shura. When you first get there as a young bloke and you're looking around, you go, what am I doing here, And you're right, the cameramen and all this, particularly Channel 9, the staging guys, they knew where the bodies were buried. And
you're talking about your Crystals and these guys who've been there forever.
Yeah.
And Curls, let me tell you, mate, Channel 9 back in, and by the way, I came after the heyday, so we were hearing the stories of all the talent that was when Kerry Packer was around, and you'd know this, Serge. If you were on air, Packer looked after you. It was business class flights. It was cars everywhere. It was the corporate credit card. It was da-da-da. That all slightly changed after we came. They said, "Sure, you don't even get a cab charge, mate. You can dink your way there on a bike." But
Noble car,
But even like every staff member at Channel 9 used to get sent a hamper at Christmas time. That got cut off. I was the last year of getting one of those. But the stories ran pretty thick and fast, and so. But the Channel 9 production area, Curls, like the props bay, for example, was like the greatest. You walked into this thing and it was like everything you can imagine under the sun, from every Monty Python skit to every Hey Hey Saturday was there. So as a kid show, you could walk in and take whatever. And then the wardrobe area was like the best dress-up shop you've ever seen in your life. There was like 20 plucker duck costumes. Then anything you could think of you could dress up as was in this thing. It was actually quite magnificent to see.
The Chook Lotto, the bike that Plucker Duck used to ride for Chook Lotto on Hey Hey. I always used to do a double take on that. I look back at it now and think, back in those days, nobody took selfies or anything, but I think, geez, I wish I'd taken a few photos on the sets of some of those things. And I remember one day, that whenever Kerry Packer came to town, he was in Melbourne, and he would go to GTV9, the word would go out, and every executive at Channel 9 would make sure that they weren't parked in the number one spot in the car park, because if you were and Kerry turned up and you were there, you were just about on the way out. You were heading for Channel 10.
I've heard some scary stories about him. Was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, Curls. Channel V had a bit of a thing about it, didn't it? There was a bit going on there back in the day.
Oh, mate, there's plenty going on. I think we had this. There was one camera guy at Nickelodeon, which is a bizarre. He was one of the Foxtel camera guys, but he was ex-Manpower. So it was the first wave of Manpower where you're on the juice, you're on the roids, you're hitting it hard. This was his career post Manpower, when the juice got too much, or the ladies stopped putting dollar bills in his in his camera bag. But he would have roid rage. So he'd be shooting a kids show, and you'd sort of get to maybe an hour into a pre-record, and he'd just snap it. Someone would say something, or he wasn't happy with something. He'd put his camera down, storm out. I've had enough of this. Basically, quit once every 2 weeks. And then basically everyone just take a 15-minute break, come back, and he's all good to go. Sorry about that, guys. Just got a bit heated up.
Mate, we had a guy. I'm pretty sure he's still alive. You would have gambled on the fact that he'd be dead by now. A guy by the name of Lucky Phil. He was a cameraman who had worked. I think he'd been at Channel 9 since the 60s. Serge might know. He can correct me if I'm wrong. But Lucky Phil had worked on every show that has ever come through Channel 9. The thing about Lucky Phil was he liked a little bit of the sauce, and we'd be there on a Saturday morning, filming a kids show, and you could smell it from the set, and he's 20 metres back. But he fully functioning, great cameraman, by the way, and could tell a story and loved a cryptic crossword. Of all the things you'd expect a drunk cameraman to be doing in the middle of, shooting a kids show was filling in cryptic crosswords. But he had a brain, and I'm pretty sure he's still alive, Serge, unless you can correct me.
Yeah, no, I think Lucky Phil still is. I'm in one of these Channel 9 Facebook sort of groups, and you see pictures of Phil now and then. And it's funny you say that about the cryptic crossword. He used to work on Sale of the Century a bit too, and Phil would be on camera 3, and he'd be sitting there, and he'd always have the pen out up near the the viewfinder of the camera. Yep. I remember the first year, I think, what is he doing? Has he got handwritten notes or something from the director? And I went round behind him one day. He's doing a crossword, and I said to him after the show, I said, "Phil, what's that? Doing the crossword?" He goes, "Oh, not just crosswords, mate. He's cryptic crosswords. Normal crosswords are too easy for a bloke as smart as me." And and then he used to get because as you say, they used to cut to him on Hey Hey, and they'd play that little audio of "This is Lucky Phil." He used to get, if you walk down through the streets of Richmond with him, it was like walking down there with Daryl Summers. I mean, he had so much recognition just from being on TV.
He was like Guillermo from the Daily Show, whatever Tonight Show.
Yeah. Oh, he had the recognition. Don't worry, he didn't mind it either. He quite enjoyed it. So they were amazing days back then, I've got to say.
It's the pinnacle of mastering an addiction. If you can do it at work and get paid for it, but then add a crossword and then add in a cryptic crossword and stay on the payroll, you've nailed it. Like you've beat.
And be on the source, as much as possible as well.
And outlive all of your co-workers. Like there's a lot of guys who lived pretty well and are no longer here, sadly, including a guy by the name of Adrian Della Virgin. You would know quite well, Sergio. But this guy, Curls, 80 gave me my first job in TV. He was the producer of Kids WB, and 80 was one of those just absolute typical love television, live television. That was his life. He'd come from being in the mail room at Channel 9 to being the producer of the Logies, of the Carols by Candlelight, did kids shows, did everything. early on. Did you do the block or did you do? He did the block, didn't he?
Did he was a very good director as well.
Yeah,
Very
director,
good studio director. Yeah.
But 80, was just he was just the man of TV. But sadly, didn't pick up a spot in his arm and ended up getting done by cancer. But there was a heap of guys that ended up being outlived by Lucky Phil. You would not, if you'd had money on who was gonna,
the first to go.
It would have been Lucky.
A horse at the back of the Melbourne Cup, just
storming home.